Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Translate Relate. I'm Becki, that one's Jenna, and this week we are talking about possibly one of my favourite parts of transactional analysis.
This, to me, eye-opener. This explains so much when learning about TA.
Yeah, I was going to say game changer, which is then the pun was not intended because we are actually talking about games.
Yeah.
So you may remember we came across games really briefly when we were talking about time structuring and strokes, because games are a way that we receive a lot of really intensive strokes, but we didn't go fully into exactly what they were.
Episode.
We got a whole episode to do it this time. Oh, cannot wait, because like you said, eye-opener. For me, once I learn about games, I could see them everywhere.
Yeah. It's like when you get a red car, like red cars are everywhere.
Exactly that. So, what are games? Games are things that we learn to do in childhood. They're a repetition of learned behaviours. So, when we're younger, we quite quickly adapt to the way that we need to be and the things that we need to do in order to get our needs met. So instead of just being able to ask for it directly, we start to do it in different ways. We learn what is acceptable in our environment. And then we carry these behaviours on as we get older, as we come into adulthood. And when we play games, they're the way that we keep our relationships predictable. Mm-hmm. And they're also a brilliant way of avoiding intimacy.
Yeah.
So if you remember from the time structuring episode, games are only one level below intimacy. And so if we feel like we're getting too close to intimacy, we can always start a game. We can start a game. We don't have to get there, but we'll still get loads of strokes out of it. And games have some quite specific characteristics. So they are repetitive. The games that we play...
And people play different ones.
And the people that we play with, yes, and different people play different games. Those can change, but the patterns of the games that we play, they're really repetitive. They are played out of adult awareness. We don't realise they're happening until after the switch. What the heck's the switch? We'll tell you about the switch in a minute, don't worry. But it's not until that point that we start to think, hang on a minute, what is it that's going on here? And then finally, they are full of ulterior motives. Mm-hmm. So there is that message that is communicated verbally. There's the message that we hear, and then there's the underlying message. And that's kind of the real message that we're trying to get across, but we don't say that.
Yeah, and very often, me and Becki were just having a conversation off screen, and the thing is not... The thing is never the thing. Yeah, absolutely. I come up with that in coaching all the time. People think that they're coming for something, but the thing is never the thing. And that is what happens in games. The conversation that you're having, it turns out after the switch, you find out that wasn't really the conversation we were having. Yes.
Something totally different.
Yeah.
So what actually is a game? So Berne wrote a formula to describe what it is that happens when we are playing great games. Grames? Not sure about that one.
That's a new book.
You don't think that one will catch on. But he wrote a formula to describe what it is that happens in games. So on your screen now, you'll see the game formula. Con. So this is the invitation to the game. And the gimmick is then the acceptance of the invitation. R stands for the responses, and those are the series of transactions that you have. It could be one, more often than not, it's quite a few. S is the switch. This is where you switch positions. And then the X is the cross up. And that's that moment of confusion. So, I said we don't know that we're playing the game until after the switch. So it's that moment of confusion. Hang on a minute. Positions have changed here. The dynamic of this conversation has changed here. My understanding of what's going on has changed here. That happens.
How did this happen?
How on earth? What is going on? that happens in the cross-up. And then finally, the P is the payoff. And this is where the game ends, and it ends by reinforcing our script. We knew it would happen.
It's a predictable outcome. We can predict these patterns. And I'm kind of like, I've got a big smile as you're talking, because I'm considering invitations that I've had recently for games, and the relief of when you are aware of these games, of then having the decision of, do I accept or do I not accept? And yeah, so as you're talking now, I'm kind of like replaying scenarios in my head where it's like, yep, I didn't accept that one, I dodged that one. And once you are aware that this is happening, because like you say, it's out of your conscious, once you become aware, it's like, oh, okay, how can I do things differently?
Yeah, and I think that's, that's been a recurring theme from what we've talked about, throughout the podcast so far, that with awareness comes the ability to choose, to choose differently, or to choose to carry on in the same way that you have been before. But that is what the awareness gives you.
Yeah.
And with you saying around, you've had some invitations recently, that might be a really nice time to bring in and just describe a little bit more about the con and the gimmick, because that is what decides whether or not we're going to be in a game. And I have this sort of visual which might give you a bit of an insight into my crazy mind, okay? So the way that I see it is, we all kind of walk around with these hooks on us, but when we're walking around normally, the hooks are closed. Some of the hooks are our cons. So they are the games that we invite people to play. Some of them are our gimmicks, and they're the ones that we accept invitations for, okay? And as we're like walking around like normal, like the hooks are closed, and as we start to be a bit stroke deficient, we haven't got enough strokes, whatever's happened in that day, we're not getting enough strokes, these kind of like start to open up, and they open up and open up and open up and open up until like they are full hooks. And they are hooks that are just waiting to be connected, whether that's you with your con waiting to find someone else's gimmick to hook onto, or whether that's your gimmick and you're waiting to walk around. And that is literally how I see it, that people who are then were stroke depleted and were walking around, someone says something, they give us that invitation into a game, and we hook on.
Do you know what's making me think
and that's
of?
It.
Us kind of walking around in Velcro suits.
Yeah.
And there's like two types of Velcro.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called, but like there's a smoother side and a rough side. So if we're both wearing smooth Velcro suit, we're not going to stick to each other.
Yeah.
And this, briefly, I kind of said that not everyone plays the same games. So me and Becki will play different games. So we might not enter into the same games with each other. So if we're both walking with our smooth Velcro suit, just walking around, and it's not sticking to anyone, but then as soon as someone comes with that rough Velcro suit, it's like, bam,
boom,
that's it,
and away we go.
Game on.
Yeah. And so once we are in that, once game is on, quite literally, game is on, and we are hooked in, Stephen Karpman then came up with a really nice visual way of representing what it is that happens once we're in the game. So we've got past the con and the gimmick, we are hooked. We're going to play the game. And so Jenna, then tell us a little bit more about his drama triangle.
So I think the drama triangle, I was aware of the drama triangle before games. The drama triangle was like the first TA thing that I was aware of, and mentioned it in the previous podcast where I was doing a training session, and I'll say what it is first, sorry. So we've got the persecutor role, we've got the rescuer role, and we have got the victim role. So the persecutor sees others as inferior and quite happy to belittle, bully people. We have got the rescuer who sees themselves as superior, that they are better equipped to kind of help and fix things. And then we've got the victim who it feels incompetent from a position that everybody else is okay, but I'm not okay. And I think it's really interesting that we take different positions because you take the persecutor.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I take the rescuer. So, you know, I've said about us playing different games and maybe not sticking, but actually, if we were in a different scenario, so let's say we hadn't met in the TA world and that we were working together, we could actually play quite a lot of games if our hooks would stick to each other. Because I am a natural recoverer and rescuer, where that's just what I do. I want to help people, and that wasn't looking at people that I was superior and that I know what to do. Like, I didn't feel like that was what was happening. I felt very much like, I can fix this, I can help this. Like, this is making me feel uncomfortable. Seeing that you're in distress, or I want from the persecutor, like, I want you to stop talking to me like that, or I want to stop feeling like this, so I will then sort it all out. So the drama triangle for me was, I'm sure that was my first kind of into TA. And the drama triangle is a framework for the games. So the games that people play is, well, I found it about, have you read the book?
I've read some of the book.
Yeah, it's not a very long
read
book.
All the book.
And I say that all the time. It's not a very long book, you know. It's like 100 pages or something. It was maybe about 150. But it's a complex read. And because what I found was I was reading these examples. So it's, 50s. You have to kind of go through the language first and the examples given. And then consider examples where that might happen that you recognise, and then like work it out. So there's quite a lot of brain power in this like 150 page book. I find it extremely difficult to read. But the drama triangle for me is kind of, it helps to simplify what's happening with these games. And so we've got persecutor, victim, rescuer. And as you've mentioned, what will happen is you'll have that switch, and the person will kind of switch roles, switch positions. And for me, it was always, at the end of the game, that's never happening again. Never again. Not letting it happen. It's not going to happen. And then it would happen again. And then it would be, oh, do you know what? They really know how to push my buttons. They really know how to do that. So it was recognising that, and also that they weren't my transactions with everybody. There was just certain people that knew how to push my buttons. So then what I had to recognise was, I need to do something differently. So we have got, brief discussion of games and the formula. Looking at the drama triangle. Yeah. So your example, is there anything you want to add to the drama triangle?
What would I add to the only thing that I think is worth mentioning about the drama triangle is that whenever you go for a play on the drama triangle, you are forgetting at least one of the 3 core principles of transactional analysis. You could be forgetting all 3, one or more. So you are forgetting, I'm okay, you're okay, and or that we can all think, and or that change is possible.
Yeah.
If you remember all those things, you can't end up in a game on the drama triangle. So at some point, one of those things has been forgotten if you are in a game.
And what I find is, so the games are out of our awareness, so it's easy to get caught up in. Whereas, we'll talk about the winner's triangle, whereas with the winner's triangle, it's a conscious decision to enter or not to enter. And when you're then making a choice to do that or not. But there's effort involved. Whereas to enter into a game, it's easy.
It's learned behaviour. Because it's repetitive. We do it all the time.
But the outcome of that can be exhausting, confusing, upsetting. So the initial part, super easy. Just enter into a game, another game, another game, another game. But the outcome is quite difficult.
Yeah.
Whereas
no one
not
leaves.
To enter,
sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, but to make the choice not to enter, that can be where the tiring bit is at first, when you change, because your brain power isn't now on healing the wounds or the upset or whatever. It's now making the decision to do something different, but they're not having the upset.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because what I was saying when I very rudely interrupted you, Jenna, I'm sorry about that. No one leaves a game feeling good. No one leaves a game feeling like, oh, that was nice. You know, when we are reinforcing that script, we are reinforcing really those negative aspects of the script that, oh, this always happens to me, but this always, you know, the bad things that always happen. No one comes away thinking, oh, that was a really productive conversation. Feeling angry or frustrated or sad.
Same time, same place next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And with what you said around, you know, to get into a game is really easy, but the payoff's rubbish, and vice versa, you know, for when you don't get into one. I think about that when it comes to any kind of like habit change that we want to make in life, like the things that are easy to do in the moment are probably going to have more of a negative effect. Things like it's easier to boil a kettle and make a pot noodle than it is to chop up a salad and, you know, whatever. But the long-term effects of constantly eating the pot noodles, well, they're probably not going to do your health much good. Whereas with staying off the drama triangle, not going onto it, playing on the winner's triangle instead, you know, that's the full meal prep. You're cooking like the Sunday roast. You know, whatever, very healthy Sunday roast, that then has a much better outcome at the end of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it really was a game changer, like learning about this. And I think now, if I didn't have that awareness, I would probably be in the same position that I was in all those years ago. A different haircut, different pair of shoes, maybe a different job, but the same patterns playing out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Example.
Okay.
Example of a game.
Yeah. So this is a game, real life game, that I used to see a lot with a couple of my colleagues at work. And they worked in the sort of like accounts department. And so like, you know, at the end of the month would be a really busy time for them because that's when everyone is getting paid, and also they're paying the subcontractors, and end of month, super busy, lots to be done by certain deadlines. And there would always be one of them who would walk around. And so they're walking around. This is their con. They're walking around. I'm so busy. Like, you just can't deal with it. I'm really stressed. And they would kind of like walk around and they'd talk to different people. And other people just did not have the gimmick that then allowed them to collect. You know, they would be like, yeah, you know, we all are. Or, yeah, don't worry about it. It happens every month. We get through it. Whatever. Until they would find the right person. It would be the same person every single month, who had the gimmick to match their con, right? Because they would be like, I'm so busy. And then they'd come, don't worry. I'm nearly done. I'm nearly finished with mine. I can sort it out for you.
I can stay late. I can work weekends.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll sort it out for you. And so at this point, they are hooked. They're on the drama triangle, okay? So a person who is super busy has gone onto the drama triangle in victim. Woe is me. No one is as busy as me here. Other person has come on in rescuer. I can sort everything out for you. I will make everything better. I can do your thinking for you. I know what you need. And so they would have these then back and forths where the person would say, the rescuer would say, well, I'll help you. And they'd say, oh, yeah, but my accounts are really complex. Like, by the time I've explained it to you, I might as well just done it myself. And the rescuer would be like, don't worry about it. Like, I do the complex ones as well. I've done them before. No explanation necessary. Yes, but. And this would go back and forth with the person who was in victim constantly giving reasons why the other person couldn't help them. And with the rescuer being, no, absolutely, I totally can. I've got this sorted. Don't worry, I'm here. And then the switch occurs. And the person who was in victim would get really ticked off. And they would move from victim into persecutor. Why do you always do this? Why are you always trying to sort everything out for me? All I was doing was saying that I was stressed. I didn't need you to come in and sort everything out for me. Really annoys me, and blah, blah, blah. And they would really go off. And the rescuer would be like, whoa, what has just happened here? And this is then where that cross up, that moment of confusion, what on earth has just happened? And the rescuer moved and found themselves in victim. I was only trying to help you. why are you having a go at me? Like, I thought you needed help. And the new persecutor, they go on and on. This person, now in victim, is feeling really sorry for themselves. I don't know why I do this. Why do I even bother trying to help you when I end up feeling rubbish? And they would leave. And you exit the drama triangle in those new positions. You leave a game in a new position. And that's it. And then the original person who had that con about being busy, they would go away with the reinforcing their script, whatever it is that's in their script. And the other person has gone away and they've reinforced their script and they knew what would happen. And that's it. Game over.
Game over, yeah. To be repeated.
To be repeated next month.
Yeah. And the predictable outcome is where person A being busy doesn't need to do anything any different next month. And person B, the rescuer, is frustrated. So yeah, nobody's happy, nobody's moved if it remains out of people's awareness. But like you say, once you see them, it's just honestly, like, you look around or you listen to people talking about their relationships and you're like, oh yeah, carry on talking, let me just work this out. So yeah, that's something that will just go on and on and on. And how many times do they do that? Because for me, so we've had some furniture delivered and there's two men. This is their job. They get paid to move furniture. It was IKEA furniture, so it was in flat packs, like boxes. I don't know how many boxes there were. And it said that they would deliver it to the room. So we wanted it in the green room because then our house is like Tetris at this point. And my husband is very good at letting the men do the job they get paid to do. I'm not so good. I'm not so good. So he can open the door and be like, yeah, it's just up there, lads. Do you want a drink or anything? We'll put the dogs away. I struggle. And I was on my computer for something. I can't remember what it was. And I was in the living room hearing these people and they were huffing and they were puffing and I was like, Jen, don't do it, Jen, don't do it. Don't offer to do it for them. Don't say they can leave it at the bottom of the stairs, because what's going to happen is you are still going to have your work to do and now you're going to have their work to do as well. Don't do it, Jen, don't do it. And they were huffing and they were puffing and I was thinking, don't do it, Jen. And that was really difficult. It was really uncomfortable for me. But they're two strapping blokes. That is the job they've chose to do. So yeah, it was difficult for me not to react to their, like, I didn't want to rescue them because then I'd have to do it. So yeah, so that was what it was making me think of, because honestly, it was so difficult. But once I didn't do it, I was like, oh, I didn't. And now I haven't got extra work to do. And oh, what a relief. So that was really helpful for me. And we mentioned about the winner's triangle. So this was something that I learned about much later on. And we've got Acey Choy's winner's triangle, where assertive replaces persecutor, caring replaces rescuer, and vulnerable replaces victim. And this allows us to have options now with recognising games and altering how we respond to them. So we've got when we are assertive, how can we express our needs in a better way? How can we set clearer boundaries? Caring, so discounting the abilities of others. So as a natural rescuer, I learned that not everybody wants to be rescued, firstly. Some people want to be there. Not everybody wants to change. So, and also some people, it's what do people get from being the victim? So yeah, I had to learn not everybody wants to be rescued. And if I continue to rescue people, how are they going to help themselves? So how can I support somebody, care for somebody, but not do for? So that was a real learning for me.
Yeah, not discounting their abilities.
Yeah, their ability
to sort it out for themselves, to think for themselves. Yeah. So yeah, I've got the resources. I'm happy to help, but I won't do for. And that was a big thing.
and vulnerable. So to recognise that, yeah, I'm having a tough time. I'm okay. Having people that I can talk to. I don't need you to do anything about it. I just want to talk about this difficult time I'm having, and I'm okay to sort it out.
And it can be, actually, I would really like you to do something about it. I am asking for help, and I know that I am okay to ask for help, and I am also okay if you say no to help. My world doesn't suddenly fall apart, because I'm not discounting my own ability to be able to problem solve, to be able to get myself out of this situation. But I can ask for help in a genuine way without it being that ulterior, pretending like it's something else that you want, or that woe is me and nothing's ever going to change.
It's okay for me to ask for help, and it's okay for you to say no.
Yeah. And it's the same sort of with thinking about the rescue as well. You can still help people, but you help them in the way that they want to be helped, that they ask to be helped, rather than assuming that you know what it is that they want. I'm not doing your thinking for you. I see you're really busy. Is there anything that you need?
Because we have different priorities as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the great thing about moving, so for someone like you, Jenna, moving from rescuer to caring, your IKEA guy's example is a great example of this. In that, sometimes when rescuers can find themselves doing things they don't actually want to do, but they think they have to because the other people need them to. Whereas when you move out of that rescuing position and into caring position, a bit like your IKEA example, I don't have to do anything here. I'm okay to not do anything. Therefore, I'm not finding myself doing things that actually I don't really want to do. And instead, I'm offering up my help and my resources, and I'm okay if people say no to that. I don't have to keep pushing. I don't have to keep saying, no, really, I can help you. Let me help you. You've said no, and that's okay. We're both okay with this. And then for someone like me, moving from persecutor into assertive, it's that, how do I set my boundaries? How do I ask for what I need without belittling other people? This is on me. This is the way that I feel. This is what I need to happen from this situation. Not, if you don't do it my way, then whatever the consequence is. If you don't do it my way, you are a whatever. Expletive feels like it wants to leave my mouth at the time. Sorry, Mum and Dad. At least I didn't say actual words. So yeah, that's the switch for me. How do I get my needs met without putting other people down?
Yeah, and when you, I did get them a drink. I just want to put that out. I got them a drink. I cleared the walkway for them, but then I didn't do because it also builds resentment as well.
Oh yeah.
I'm doing this again. I should be doing this. There's never any time for me, blah, blah, blah. So I was really shocked when you said that your natural position was the persecutor, because I was like, oh, interesting.
I know.
Because I guess I think everyone thinks like me. Why is everyone's not? Why? And that's like different information then, because what I see of you, my experience hasn't been that at all. So then when you said that, I was like, oh, okay. That's not what I've experienced, but
because I work hard to not be in that position anymore, and it is.
Me too.
And it's funny because actually,
not rescuing.
I'm quite pleased in a way to be able to share. Yeah, actually, I'm a chronic recovering persecutor, because that feels like the position that no one ever wants to admit they are. It's like, and I can remember it actually on our TA course, someone asking the question and being like, yeah, but. Like, it's not quite so bad if, like, you're a rescuer or a victim. It's like there's different levels of bad. And it's like, no, none of these positions are positive. None is better to be in than any of the others. But I think there is a definite...
There's a stigma.
There's a definite stigma as a society that we have around, like, levels of bad. And that, you know, a level of bad, if you're then putting people down, that is a worse bad than... doing someone else's thinking for them, and smothering them, that is somehow a worse bad than the other. And actually, what we look at in TA is that none is any worse than the other. They're all negative positions to be in. On the winner's triangle, They're all positive to positions to be in. None of them is any more positive than the other.
Yeah. And there's something bits that I just want to add about. So I've got here, not playing games has consequences. And we've definitely said it before in another podcast where change is difficult, like really difficult. So here's us kind of sat here, like we've been, we've known about TA for a while. We've gone through some of those changes and we're still going through some as well. And we've acknowledged that the difficulty of change. And I just want to kind of bring to people's attention that not playing games does have consequences. Because when that other person has been so used to playing games with you, when you then don't, it's really difficult for them. And they might, when you start to become more aware of these patterns, the behaviour might be ramped up.
Yeah.
It might increase, or they might completely withdraw to find somebody else to play with.
Yeah. In an ideal world, they soon realise that, oh, hang on a minute, like, actually now I can have these really nice interactions with you and I'm not walking away feeling frustrated. They might not know about strokes and things. I'm getting stroked in a positive way instead, you know. They don't need to know that, you know, but that's the ideal situation, that you keep on that winner's triangle. So you keep remembering the 3 core principles. I'm okay, you're okay, we can all think, change is possible. You keep remembering those. You keep RSVPing no to their invitation to play a game, and that can be, as you said, that could be really difficult then on you, because they often will ramp up because I just want to keep you where I know you, even though that status quo where I know you, we come away from it feeling crap, but I know you there, and I don't know what the world will look like when you are no longer interacting with me in this way. But yeah, hopefully they soon realise, oh, we can interact in a nice way, in a really positive way.
Yeah, just to kind of put that out there, that it can be tough going through this. And these 5 different ways we can deal with, these are from your notes. I've not actually read these before, but I thought it was quite important to kind of bring these too. So I'll just read them out and we can have a brief discussion on this. Yeah. So to say pose 5 different ways that we can deal with games using our adult awareness. So first point, unmasking. Make it clear you don't want to play and want to communicate in a different way. Ignoring. Pretend that you didn't hear the bait. Walk away. Start doing something else. Engage your positive natural child and give a funny response. Providing alternatives. Address the underlying ulterior message straight away, which addresses the authentic needs. Mm-hmm. Switch to a different time structure. Understand what options the other person has for giving and receiving strokes, and switch activity or intimacy, for example. And from reading those points, it will be different so it'll be kind of assessed on an individual. Like, you know, I might opt to do one with a family member, whereas I might opt to do a different one with a colleague. And some, it might just be a bit of trial and error. And
I think one's missing off there as well. Number 5, play along.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Right. Maybe that was on page. No,
might have been on a different page. Playing along. And that's the idea, that you know the game's happening. You know it's going to happen. But if you are playing along, it's like playing pretend, then you're not actually in a game, because you are not getting that same script payoff at the end. Yeah, you're not coming away from it feeling rubbish. All right, yeah, I know you're really busy. Is there anything? Oh, yeah, don't worry, I can do it for you. And you're going through the motions. You are not getting emotionally hooked in the same way that you would do in an actual game.
Yeah, and now I recognise them. I do have, so I said about not playing games has consequences. I do experience those consequences quite regularly, because people are so used to playing these games. And then because my game radar is heightened, those consequences do kind of find their way to me. So yeah, it's so much better in the long term. And we have got a few points for people to consider now. What is your preferred position? So we are aware of ours, and it might be that you don't know what yours is yet. You might still be working it out. And for me, it was, what do I keep on doing over and over again, repeating the same old thing over and over again? And the biggest thing was, I'm living the same year Different hairstyle, different shoes, but I'm living the same year, just going through the same thing. So what patterns are repeated? And I think once you recognise the patterns that are repeated, you can then chunk it down and break it down to help you with your position or the games. And also, who are you playing them with?
Yeah.
Because it'll be different people. So what is your preferred position? What patterns are being repeated? And what can you do differently? Because although it feels easier to try and change everybody else, you can't.
Changes starts with us first.
Yeah. And I took a big swallow gulp then. Like, oh, yeah, she's right. She's always right. Anything you want to add for games episode?
No, but no, really, other than, I'd be really interested. Let us know in the comments, like, can you see it now? Can you even... So the easier place for you to see it will be in other people. Absolutely. So if it feels a little bit too far to start thinking about, oh, well, what is my position? Look out for it in other people instead. Keep an eye on your colleagues, your friends, watching TV programs. TV and films are great ways great places for finding these things. And then start to look a little bit deeper. So let us know what you find, where it is that you can recognise these games going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will see you in next week's episode, which is...
Script. Probably my second favourite bit of TA.
So we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for watching.